earlier this afternoon, we received a major breaking news story that Guenther Steiner is out as team principal at Haas F1. Ayao Komatsu will replace Steiner as the new Haas F1 team principal, receiving a promotion from his role as director of engineering. You've been seeing him on the pit wall throughout 2021, 2022, and 2023. He has over 20 years of experience in Formula One, focusing on engineering and management. In his new role leading the team, Komatsu will be responsible for the team's overall strategy, on-track performance, while maximizing the team's potential through employee empowerment and structural process and efficiency. Also, taking phone calls from Gene Haas. In a statement, he says, "I'm naturally very excited to have the opportunity to be team principal at MoneyGram Haas F1 Team. Having been with the team since its track debut back in 2016, I'm obviously passionately invested in its success in Formula One. I'm looking forward to leading our program and the various competitive operations internally to ensure we can build a structure that provides improved on-track performances. They need a better font. Now, the team plans to strengthen themselves off-track by hiring a European-based chief operating officer to manage all non-competition matters and departments. However, this person ends up being will work at the team factory in Banbury. Now, that's in the UK, just to let everybody know, for those of you in the States. Now, Haas decided to change team principals this late in the off-season, only weeks before the 2021 F1 team car reveals, and pre-season testing certainly raises a lot of questions about the direction of the team. According to Luke Smith from The Athletic, Haas wanted to have a more technical-focused team leader after finishing last place in the Constructors' Championship last season. Adding to that, team owner Gene Haas and Steiner had different visions regarding the future of the team, so both parties felt it was time to part ways. All graphics in this section courtesy of Haas F1. Gene Haas has released a statement saying, "I'd like to start by extending my thanks to Guenther Steiner for all his hard work over the past decade, and I wish him well for the future. Moving forward as an organisation, it was clear we need to improve our on-track performances. In appointing Ayao Komatsu as team principal, we fundamentally have engineering at the heart of our management." Seems finally he's woken up. As Alex says, this should help the argument for Andretti to get back on the grid. I feel like a lot of the reason Haas had as many American fans as they did was due to Steiner being the breakout star of DTS, that's Drive to Survive. Well, Netflix has melted down this evening. Box to Box has literally boxed themselves up in a crate and is crying. Are you stunned, Kobe, by Haas moving on from Guenther Steiner? And what does this move mean for the future of the team?
Yeah, I was absolutely floored to see this news. I know there were a lot of rumors going around leading up to this announcement. And Josh, you were the first one who brought this to all of our attentions this morning about the rumors that Guenther Steiner was going to be at it. And at first, I was like, no way. I said, this has got to be a silly rumor. You know, he's going to be there at the start of the 2024 F1 season. And then at noon Eastern time, like right on the dot, we get the news that Guenther Steiner is out as team principal at Haas F1. So yeah, it was a really shocking decision. I didn't expect to see anything like this, but Gene Haas felt like he needed a change to improve his organization, and that's the move he decided to make. And I know if you're a fan of American football, you may notice Black Monday's happening this week in the NFL with lots of head coaches, general managers, assistant coaches, coordinators getting fired and all of that. When you look at the team principal is basically the head coach of the Formula One team. And at the end of the day, when your team is not performing, you know, they need to hold someone accountable. And a lot of the times it's the head coach who gets held accountable. And if you look at Haas F1's performance, especially in the Constructors' Championship, they really haven't been competitive. And last year was not a good year at all for Haas in the Constructors' Championship. So at some point, you're gonna need to look in the mirror and say, what do I need to do to improve my organization? It seems like Haas felt that they needed to have a new voice in their locker room at Haas F1. They needed to have a new direction, a new vision. And while I really like Guenther Steiner and think he's quite the character, being popular and Drive to Survive doesn't score your points in Formula One. It doesn't win your races. It's not going to win your world championships. It's not going to win your constructors championship. So in situations like this, you just really have to do a full evaluation. And if you think a change needs to be made, you need to go ahead and make it. And as far as the future of Haas F1, I'm not sure what the future lies here, but well, as we've seen with the other team principal changes, we've known those months ahead of time. So you could all prepare for this, but this comes really late unless Haas already knew they were going to move on from Steiner earlier, just decided to make it official after the new year. But according to that article you referenced with Luke Smith from The Athletic, Smith said that they made this decision right after Christmas that they were going to move on. So the transition is happening way later compared to all of the other changes that we've seen in leadership across these F1 teams. It's certainly going to be an interesting story 2024 and see if the change is going to be a positive one for Haas F1.
Not the only change at Haas, of course, today, with Simone Resta, the technical director, also leaving, and he looks like he's on his way back to Ferrari. A couple of points on this. Congratulations to Komatsu, because he's been in Formula One a long time, and now he's finally got himself at the top table. He was Romain Grosjean's race engineer for quite some time, the beginning of the Haas era, and has worked his way up to the top. So let's hope that they can change the fortunes of the team, etc., and bring them back up the Constructors' Championship. Point two, as brought up by Alex before, and Ben Schneider was onto this way early, that this surely now is the catalyst for Jane, if this continues. Jane, sorry. The catalyst for this to change now his involvement in the sport, and Michael Andretti be on the phone to him and go, if you're going to go out, ring me first, please. With all the Andretti saga that's been going on that we've reported on this show multiple times. It's a shame for Guenther, but this does really smack of poor management that they've had to change this so late on. You mentioned Kobe Black Monday, that basically the Monday after Abu Dhabi, basically in an NFL world. We're 6 weeks away from the first Grand Prix. 6 weeks. Just this should have, and you mentioned it probably was done before, and seems like it's been done before Christmas. # sell the team, says Ben. But just no time at all. And of course, we've talked endlessly about the extension to the F1 calendar over the last few years. There is no time for messing about now. You've got to get things done and get it done early. And I just feel like this is not helping Haas. Already, they had that big upgrade that did nothing for them last year, and they were cut adrift towards the end of the season. And I feel like they're going to be cut adrift all of this coming season in 2024 with this raft of changes that have been announced today.
What was his book called? It was Driving to Survive, Surviving to Drive,
something like that.
Yeah, I picked it up in Waterstones the other day at half price. I wish I'd brought it now to go through the 2022 season. I'm looking forward to the sequel though as well. It's got to have some title, isn't it? That's really, really shocking. I can't wait. Joe Samaniego says F1 will look pretty poor if no Andretti and Haas continue with their struggles as well. It will indeed, but it's actually Survive to Drive. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just check as well.
Drive, Well, what's it now then? Oops, I did it again. Something like that. Gene hit me one more time. I don't know.
I wonder if Guenther took it out on a door on his way out. He was told he wasn't going to be.
To be fair, I've been thinking about podcast titles tomorrow that I'm not going to get away with as well, with all these swearing antics. But it is actually quite big. Before I hand over to you, Kobe, for your news segments around the world, he was the third longest team principal in Formula One behind. Yeah, because it's Christian Horner at 19 years. Toto is at 10 years now, and Guenther was there at about 8-9 years. So it is crazy that he's gone. Let's not forget, Guenther Steiner didn't just come into it with Haas. He's been in Jaguar, he's been in Arrows, Benetton. He's been around Formula One for a very, very long time, has Guenther Steiner. So for him not to be on the grid next year is going to be a very, very big deal. Could we see Guenther Steiner in broadcasting? I'm going to say no, because the amount he swears, I think any broadcast that picks him up will get Ofcom on their backs very, very quickly.
He did the COTA NASCAR race, didn't he, last spring with Fox, which was a strange
Haas, isn't it?
job
It's Haas.
to get. Motorsport Broadcasting on Twitter actually put that up this afternoon as a poll. Would you like to see Guenther join the Sky team? Yes, no, or don't care. I selected no because they've got too many people as it is, for a start. I don't think he'd bring anything to it. Alex says, I wonder if the delayed announcement was for Haas to do the full rebrand between both his teams and this was just the finish. Well, as Kobe mentioned and Luke Smith reported, this has already been washed out, it seems, pre-Christmas. Guenther is supposed to be this weekend coming due at the NEC, the National Exhibition Centre in Birmingham, for the Autosport show as a guest on stage. So A, it'll be interesting if he turns up, and B, it'll be interesting to see what he's got to say.
He is going to turn up, and David Croft is going to be doing the interviewing. So that kicks off today, doesn't it? Yeah. So Thursday, 11th of January, and it'll be available to watch around the world on Autosport. I really do highly suggest you watch it because that's going to be very big entertainment. Okay, over to you then, Kirby, for more news.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one more point on Guenther. You remember towards the end of the 2023 F1 season, there were rumors going around that he was in talks with CBS about doing a comedy or something like that. So So if Guenther is gonna take a sabbatical from the F1 paddock, it sounds like he has something lined up potentially if he does a comedy show.
Oh,
How I Met Your Reserve Driver. Some team principals do have them.
Oh God.
Yeah. And Joe says he has a comedy show deal. He might get into acting, and given his popularity on Drive to Survive, it would not surprise me to see Guenther Steiner get into acting and all of that. And
8 out of 10 teams.
Only fools and K-Mags.
Oh dear. Outnumbered would be better. Outnumbered.
Yeah.